Mr. Gardner, then Mr. Erlewine, and Ms. Patterson. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to be here. I'm glad you stayed. That Roostella beer sounded pretty good. I wanted to comment on the portfolio alternative. We've been asked to review the alternative. We are preparing more detailed comments, but I thought I'd give you a short version since it's late in the day. The concept of the portfolio alternative is consistent with the Delta Vision strategic plan in linking actions together to have a successful solution. And I was encouraged to hear, I think, general support from all of you for that concept. I think it's critical that the state, and I include the BDCP program and the Stewardship Council, the federal government and the water agencies, continue to advance actions that are linked and integrated. I wanted to offer a couple of suggestions, since I think the struggle is, well, how do we actually do that? How do we implement that? What does that mean? The first, I think, is, and I think this is particularly to your question, Mr. Eisenberg, is that I think the Stewardship Council and staff can take a leadership role in starting to identify the linkages and assurances that will tie these things together, whether that's through policies or contracts or bond covenants. I think work needs to start on identifying those measures that would really tie particularly conveyance to storage, so we can achieve that more in wet, less in dry. There continues to be a focus in the administration on the conveyance alone. They're evaluating, as you heard, a range of conveyance capacities, but focusing on conveyance only and not these linked connections.
Mr. Gardner, let me ask you a question I don't understand. Is the foundation saying that BDCP should only proceed if storage is a required element of BDCP? I mean, you say linkage, but I just don't understand what that means.
I think there are a couple of options. I think there are legal linkages that can be built into BDCP to create the requirements or incentives to do the other pieces, whether it's levy investments or storage. I don't know exactly what those are. I haven't dug into it, but I think work could start now on how to tie them together. Does that help?
No, because do you believe? Does the Delta Vision Foundation believe that BDCP is legally required to somehow develop storage as a condition of proceeding, or is it simply a desirable thing they ought to think about and do? Because if it's legally required, I want to see a legal analysis on it, because I've never seen. Everyone says it's a nice idea, but you suggested legally linking it, and I just want to know what you mean, what the authority is.
I think if we are going to have a workable solution, we need to identify ways to legally link conveyance, storage, and other elements. So I'm not suggesting that there is legal direction to do that. I'm just saying if we want to develop a workable solution that is linked and integrated, we need to start developing those legal linkages.
Okay.
So the second area, I think the administration appears to be only able to focus on one solution here, one piece of the solution, and has challenges managing more. So as we've said before to you, I think your efforts to lead and guide implementation can be really critical here, and that particularly is leading what we've called the plus activities of a BDCP plus concept. Again, similar to this portfolio concept. But I think that as you start this implementation committee, there is a lot to be done to advance these other pieces. And I think it goes beyond the elements that are in the Delta Plan now, the requests and recommendations for lists of storage projects and so forth. I think there's more to be done. I would particularly highlight, as I have before, the some recommendations of the Delta Vision Strategic Plan, particularly related to the strategic levy system and through Delta conveyance, which are not in the portfolio alternative and are not in BDCP and are not in the Delta plan. And by that I mean activities that can increase the capacity of moving water through the Delta. That is, physical capacity and fish protection strategies. Those are an important component of a linked solution, which is not being addressed. And lastly, I would just mention or refer you to work by the CalFed Bay Delta Advisory Council that identified, this is now about 15 years ago, a 5,000 CFS facility to be implemented after 7 years of operation of increased capacity through Delta conveyance. So we would test, we would improve through Delta conveyance and identify how to right-size that facility. And their estimate at that time was that 5,000 CFS was appropriate. At the time, the powers that be did not act on, frankly, either one of those. And I think we're at risk of the same kinds of failures now, that we need to be looking aggressively at through Delta conveyance. We need to be looking at right-sizing that the isolated conveyance piece of dual conveyance. So those are my overall comments. We'll provide some more detailed comments to you and to the Resources Agency in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.